Just as I was about to graduate from university, my girlfriend, Victoria Prescott, suddenly broke up with me. She gave me a villa, a Bentley, and $18 million, saying it was a thank you for my 4 years of companionship. I was stunned, desperate to know why she was leaving me. But she was cold, saying, "Sincere Smith, for people from my kind of family, love and marriage are two separate things. I'm going back for an arranged marriage now. Do you understand?" 1. My girlfriend was getting engaged, but the fiancé wasn't me. When I rushed to the engagement ceremony, I saw Victoria Prescott on the stage. She was wearing a couture gown and adorned with magnificent jewels, looking beautiful and poised, but the man standing opposite her was only about 5'3", very overweight, and his face was covered in oily pimples that looked like they could burst at any moment. My girlfriend was going to marry a man like that? Thinking back to last night, it felt like a lifetime ago. Yesterday, when I got back to the villa from my internship, Victoria pushed me onto the bed. She leaned down to kiss me, whispering in a husky voice, "Darling, tonight don't hold anything back." Then it was as if she consumed me. But when I woke up, she was gone without a trace. Her phone number was disconnected, and all her social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, were deleted. It was as if she had suddenly vanished from my world, leaving me completely blindsided. Then her lawyer showed up. The lawyer arrived at noon. He said Victoria had specifically instructed him to come at noon so as not to disturb my rest. Then he handed me a document. I read it, completely bewildered. It was a deed of gift, stating that Victoria was voluntarily giving me the villa, the Bentley, and $18 million in savings as a thank you gift for our 4-year relationship in university. So, she had dumped me out of the blue and was now treating me like a kept man, throwing money at me? But I didn't need the money at all. I had told Victoria this when we were together, but she had confidently replied, "No matter how rich you are, you're not as rich as me." I didn't bother arguing. What could I do? I loved her. But why break up just like that? Last night she was so passionate, so intense, telling me she loved me almost the entire night. How could she just leave? I forced myself to calm down and, using my family's resources, quickly found out what was going on. And that's how I ended up at the engagement ceremony. I could see Victoria wasn't happy. Was she being forced to marry this man? "Kiss her." Just then, someone in the crowd shouted. Then I saw the man reach for Victoria's hand. She instinctively pulled back, avoiding his touch. The man was displeased. His thick lips sputtered as he spoke. "Have you already forgotten what you promised me?" Victoria's face went pale, but she took a step forward. She must have been threatened. I immediately pushed through the crowd and shouted to her, "Victoria, if you're in trouble, tell me, don't do this to yourself." All eyes turned to me. When Victoria saw me, a flash of joy appeared in her cold eyes, only to be instantly replaced by a frosty glare. "Who the hell is this kid?" The man glared at me. "You're calling my fiancée by her first name. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it?" I was about to reveal who I was, but Victoria cut me off. Victoria furrowed her beautiful brows and said, "He's just a lapdog. Just have someone throw him out. Ignore him." 2. A lapdog? I could feel the contempt in everyone's gazes. It's true, who respects a lapdog? But I wasn't one. Victoria and I met at a club event. I had just finished playing basketball and was so hungry I could have eaten a horse, so I snuck some of my roommate's snacks. He teased me about it and dared me to call him Godfather for a laugh. It was just messing around between roommates, so I didn't care and actually did it. Victoria, who was there, immediately stood up for me. She said you shouldn't bully someone just because they seem poor, but she also told me I shouldn't have stolen someone else's food. That was her personality, like a big sister, always standing up for what's right. After that, I pretended to be poor and pitiful and started hanging around her all the time. Before long, we were together, and the whole campus knew I was her kept man. People always said she was sponsoring a pretty boy, and I worried it would tarnish her reputation, so I told her my family was actually incredibly wealthy. But she never seemed to care much. Anyway, we were together for 4 years. Our love story wasn't full of dramatic twists and turns, but it was sweet and intense. We almost never even argued. That's why I couldn't accept her suddenly dumping me. I just had to know the real reason. I stared at Victoria on the stage and walked up, step by step. But before I could speak, the man suddenly stood in front of me. He was so short he had to look up at me, and I had to look down to see him. "You son of a bitch, you actually came up here?" He jumped up, trying to slap me. I stepped back to dodge it, frowning as I looked at Victoria. "You broke up with me to marry this creature. What nonsense are you talking?" Victoria strode forward and slapped me across the face. When that man tried to hit me, I dodged. But when Victoria hit me, I didn't move. She was wearing high heels, and I was afraid she would fall. She was about to marry someone else, and I was still worrying about her. How pathetic could I be? I touched my stinging cheek, my eyes filled with grief. "So you're Victoria's university boyfriend?" The man walked over, smirking contemptuously. "A kept man dares to act tough in front of me? Do you know who I am? I'm Ethan Grimes, and the Grimes family is the wealthiest in the city." I ignored Ethan Grimes and continued speaking to Victoria, leaving without a word. "That's not fair to me." "Fair?" she retorted. "The villa, the car, the money, I gave you everything. What more do you want?" "Stop making a scene, Sincere. We're over." Victoria frowned. "You know how it is for families like mine. Love and marriage are separate. Thank you for the last 4 years, but my husband can only be Ethan Grimes. Do you understand? I'm only asking you one thing," I said, looking at her. "Do you love me?" I understood about arranged marriages between powerful families. My own parents had one, but they were lucky they were childhood sweethearts, and their love followed naturally. As for me, I was also expected to have an arranged marriage, but I didn't have to. My family's position in the capital was so secure that we no longer needed marriage alliances to solidify it. "Love?" she sneered. "Don't be ridiculous, Sincere. Since I was a little girl, I knew I would have an arranged marriage. I don't believe in love. I dated you simply because you were good-looking, poor enough, and easy to control. All right, now you have the answer you wanted. So leave." 3. So what I thought was a deep, sweet love was all in my head. In Victoria's eyes, was I just a presentable, obedient boy toy? How ridiculous. I nodded. If that's how it was, then so be it. Even though my heart was aching, I knew when to let go. I had come here hoping to win her back. If I couldn't, I would walk away. I looked at Victoria with a bitter smile. "All right then, I wish you happiness." With that, I turned to leave the stage. Victoria clenched her fists and looked away, avoiding my gaze. But Ethan Grimes blocked my path, sneering, "You're already here, so you might as well stay and watch the ceremony. Leaving now would be an insult to me, to the Grimes family, and to the entire city. That arrogant?" I chuckled. I'd heard similar threats before. After all, the capital is a big place, and not everyone knew who I was. Inevitably, some people would try to show off in front of me. But after I taught a few of those clueless fools a lesson, no one dared to speak to me like that anymore. Ethan didn't catch the disdain in my voice. Instead, he clapped his hands. Instantly, several men in black suits emerged and surrounded the stage. "Kid, if I'm not happy today, you're not walking out of this room," Ethan said. Victoria quickly came over and glared at me. "Get out of here. Now I don't want to see you again." "Did I give you permission to speak?" Ethan said coldly. "Do you really think I'm stupid? It's obvious you're trying to protect this kid. Protecting me?" I took a long look at Victoria and saw that her eyes were filled with worry. Maybe what she said just now was all a lie. But Victoria shook her head. "I just don't want any more ties to my past. Besides, this is our engagement. What does it look like having my ex-boyfriend here? How would that reflect on you?" Her tone softened. "Ethan, I'm thinking of your reputation." Ethan's expression eased slightly, but he still insisted. "I'm not afraid of losing face. In this city, I am the law." He pointed at me. "Go down there and watch the ceremony." I nodded, gave Victoria a half-smile, and walked off the stage. The moment I stepped down, I was surrounded by 4 men in black suits. They escorted me to a corner seat. They were clearly afraid I would run. From the stage, Ethan called out, "Just sit there and watch, kid. You're not leaving until I say you can." "You won't let me leave now," I said with a faint smile, "but later, when you want me to leave, I might not be willing to go." "Shut up," Victoria snapped. I smiled without saying another word. They wanted to play this game. They shouldn't blame me for what happens next. Ethan added, "I hear you're from the capital? Good. A big shot from the capital is coming later. He's a real princeling. I'll introduce you, help you see how the real world works." Well, thank you in advance. I couldn't help but laugh. Just then, a group of young men swaggered over. They were clearly Ethan's lackeys. "Kid, don't you value your life? Did you really think Victoria could protect you? Let me tell you, even if you hadn't shown up today, Ethan wasn't going to let you off the hook. You think he'd let the man who slept with his fiancé for 4 years live? I've got my phone here. Need me to call the police for you?" The group laughed mockingly. I just looked down at my phone, not bothering to waste my breath on them. But one thing was now certain. Victoria was indeed trying to protect me. 4. The engagement ceremony soon concluded. Next came the reception, where guests would eat, drink, and network. Ethan led Victoria from table to table, making toasts. Everyone fawned over him. I had taken a moment to look into the Grimes family of Suzhou. They were indeed the wealthiest, but they had no real foundation nouveau riche. They had risen to power because of connections in the capital, which allowed them to secure many major projects in the city, catapulting them to the top. However, the Grimes family had never managed to break into Suzhou's circle of old money families. In other words, the people here today were either dependents of the Grimes family or guests of the Prescotts. As for Victoria's family, the Prescotts, they were considered an old money family in Suzhou, but they had fallen into decline. The marriage alliance between the Prescotts and the Grimes was a matter of mutual benefit. The Grimes family wanted a ticket into the old money circle, and marrying a daughter from such a family was that ticket. The Prescotts, on the other hand, simply wanted money to revive their family's fortunes. I'd seen countless alliances like this growing up, so it didn't surprise me. Historically, through every dynasty, such things have always happened. Marriage alliances have always been a complex art. Just then, a girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 sat down next to me. She was sweet-looking and cute, with a bit of baby fat still on her cheeks. Her eyes and brows bore a strong resemblance to Victoria's. "I'm Chloe Prescott, your ex-girlfriend's younger sister," she said. "From now on, don't say a word. Just follow me." She looked adorable, but her voice was ice-cold. As she spoke, she grabbed my hand, but I didn't move. "Did your sister send you to help me?" I asked. "What do you think?" Chloe frowned. "Hurry up and come with me, or you won't be able to leave at all." Just then, several of the men in black suits closed in on us. Chloe sighed, let go of my hand, and sat back down. She knew we couldn't get away now. "You shouldn't have come," she sighed again. "If it weren't for you, my sister wouldn't have had to marry that roly-poly." "Because of me?" I was surprised, but before I could ask, a commotion broke out at the entrance to the banquet hall. Ethan and Victoria headed towards the entrance, signaling for everyone to stand up. Then I saw a group of 7 or 8 people walk in. They were all young, both men and women, but carried themselves with a calm and steady air. The leader, in particular, though only in his early 20s, had an imposing presence. "Julian, you finally made it. My engagement party wouldn't have been complete without you." Ethan immediately stepped forward, extending his hand to shake the leader's. Julian Vance ignored Ethan's outstretched hand, not even glancing at him. Instead, he studied Victoria carefully before asking, "You're Victoria Prescott?" Victoria froze for a moment, then nodded. Julian's demeanor softened, and he said with a slight smile, "He hid you too well. Otherwise, we should have met long ago." Ethan assumed that he referred to him and was wondering when he had ever hidden anything, but he didn't dwell on it. Instead, he announced to the other guests, "Everyone, this is Julian Vance from the Vance family of the capital, a genuine big shot, the Vance family is the greatest patron of our Grimes family here in Suzhou. The others immediately broke into sycophantic applause, their excitement plain to see. Then Ethan noticed me, still sitting on the sofa. He glared at me. "Kid, who gave you the nerve to remain seated?" Victoria also chimed in urgently. "Sincere Smith, get up now, 5. Once again all eyes were on me, and this time they were all smiling with malice. In their eyes a princeling from the capital had arrived, and by not standing to greet him, I was showing disrespect and was about to be dealt with, but I remained perfectly calm, simply smiling at Julian Vance. "Do I need to stand up?" Julian stared blankly for a second, then rubbed his eyes and took another closer look at me. His expression changed completely. Ethan, however, said with a sinister grin, "Julian, this kid is my fiancé's ex-boyfriend. A lapdog, basically. I kept him around for a bit of entertainment. You know that dog fighting ring I own? I was thinking of throwing this kid to the hounds." Victoria's face turned white. She gritted her teeth. "Ethan Grimes, what did you promise me?" "I promised that if you married me I wouldn't make things difficult for him," Ethan sneered. "But he showed up on his own and embarrassed me. Why should I let him off the hook now?" Victoria said nothing more. She walked straight over to me. Standing before me, she shook her head with a bitter smile, her eyes filled with affection. "Oh, you. When will you ever stop making me worry?" I stood up and gave her a wide grin, the kind of sunny smile she always loved. "Don't worry about me. The real question is, when are you going to believe that your man is actually powerful?" I took her hand and pulled her into my arms. She whispered, "Sincere, I don't think I can protect you anymore. Your only chance is to take me hostage to get out of here. Then take the money I gave you and run. Run as far away as you can." I smiled helplessly. She still didn't believe me. Had I hidden my identity too well? Just then, the black-suited guards began to close in. But at the same moment, the banquet hall's service staff also moved, surrounding them. They intercepted the guards, and when the guards resisted, they were taken down in an instant. In fact, nearly all of the Grimes family's bodyguards in the hall were neutralized in a matter of seconds. The sudden turn of events made everyone in the hall gasp. Victoria was also bewildered. She grabbed me, trying to run. "Let's go, we don't have to go." I held her back, placed my hands on her shoulders, and gently pushed her down onto the sofa. Then I sat down beside her. I leaned back against the sofa and crossed my legs. It was a casual, almost flippant posture, yet no one dared to underestimate me. Victoria stared at me blankly, as if seeing me for the first time. In her eyes, I had always been a cheerful, sunny, and gentle man. She had never seen this sharp, commanding side of me. 6. Ethan was stunned for a long moment before he finally spoke. "Kid, you got a death wish? This is Suzhou, my territory, I get it," he yelled, pointing at my men. "Victoria gave you money, and you used it to hire these guys to crash the party, didn't you? An hour before I even entered the banquet hall, my people had already replaced the entire service staff. There's a saying, a wise man doesn't stand under a crumbling wall. How could I have shown up so openly without being prepared?" Ethan turned to Julian beside him. "Julian, lend me your bodyguards, I'm going to kill that pretty boy." Julian said nothing. He walked directly up to me, bowed deeply, and said respectfully, "Big ass." Julian's attitude was one of utmost humility and respect. The people he had brought with him also bowed to me. I just smiled without responding. The scene left everyone speechless with shock. Ethan ran over. "Julian, what are you doing?" Smack Julian slapped him hard across the face. "You think I came here to help you?" he roared. "I just found out you dared to steal Big S's woman. I came here specifically to deal with you, huh?" Ethan clutched his face, his greasy features a mask of utter confusion. "The Smith family of the capital. Ever heard of them?" Julian added. Ethan's face went deathly pale. He stammered, Why you mean Sincere Smith?" "Is from the Smith family of the capital?" "Not just a member of the Smith family," Julian said coldly. "He is the sole heir." "The Smith family? Who are they? Are they that powerful? You don't even know about the Smiths of the capital? In 3 generations, 7 family members have served in the cabinet." "Wait, is Victoria crazy? If she had a boyfriend like that, why would she let herself be threatened by Ethan Grimes? The murmurs from the crowd made Victoria's expression change as well. She stared at me for a long time, her face a picture of disbelief, tears welling in her eyes. I said helplessly, "I told you many times how powerful my family is, but you never believed me. I didn't think it mattered, so I didn't press the issue. I figured you'd find out eventually when we got married. Who knew you'd be so silly as to nearly let a pig get its hands on you just to protect me?" Victoria was crying and laughing at the same time, gently pounding my chest with her fists. I pulled her into my embrace. "And think about it," I said. "You're so beautiful and come from a good family. Why do you think no one dared to pursue you for all 4 years of university? You arranged all that?" Victoria looked at Julian in surprise, "But didn't he just say you hid me well? They all knew about you, but without my permission, they wouldn't dare interact with you. As for anyone else who tried to pursue you, my people shut them down long ago. The villa we lived in was bought by you, but the maids, the driver, the gardener, the chef, they were all my bodyguards. The groundskeepers at the university, my roommate Rick, even your best friend, they were all raised in my family's household, my retainers since childhood." I sighed. "The truth is, besides you not believing me, I didn't tell you because I was afraid it would put pressure on you. But I really should have told you sooner. Then you wouldn't have had to be threatened by anyone. And honestly, I never took the Prescott family situation seriously enough to investigate. If I had, none of this with Ethan Grimes would have ever happened. All they wanted was to revive the declining Prescott family, right? For the Smith family, that's a matter of a single phone call. And now, it was time to deal with Ethan Grimes. 7. "Mr. Grimes, you're quite the big shot," I said with a smile. Ethan's legs gave out, and he collapsed to his knees. He started kowtowing frantically. "Mr. Smith, I swear I didn't know who you were. I would never have dared." But as he said this, there was a hidden venom in his eyes. I glanced at Victoria. "Did he harm you in any way?" Victoria shook her head. "I didn't even get you to sleep until dawn, and then I had to rush back for the engagement party. He never had a chance to lay a finger on me." I nodded and stood up. "All right, let's leave it at that for now. Powerful families don't resolve things by shouting and fighting in public." After leaving the banquet hall, we went to the Prescott's home. I had already met Victoria's parents, Arthur and Eleanor, at the hall. At the time, they hadn't said anything to me, but their disdain was obvious. Now, knowing my true identity, I could see they were thrilled, but they were trying to restrain it. Of course, I knew they were deliberately trying to appear profound and composed, hoping I wouldn't look down on them. It didn't matter. The Prescott family was on such a different level that I couldn't be bothered to guess their intentions. I sat in the Prescott's living room with Victoria beside me, her parents sitting opposite us. As for Julian and his group, I had sent them away to entertain themselves. I spoke calmly. "The Prescott family wants to make a comeback. That's not a problem. Give me 2 weeks." But Arthur Prescott suddenly interjected, "Actually, the Prescott family wants to move to the capital. I raised a hand to cut him off. "Mr. Prescott, I understand your desire to bring glory to the family name, but if you take too big a step, you're liable to pull something. Things have to proceed gradually." Eleanor Prescott frowned. "Marrying Ethan Grimes would have gotten our family into the capital immediately, through Julian Vance's connections. How is it that your Smith family is more powerful than the Vances, yet you can't get us into the capital?" Victoria looked torn. "Mom, Dad, let's just listen to Sincere on this. Please, stop talking. You're not even married yet and you're already taking his side." Eleanor slammed her hand on the coffee table. "Young man, let me be clear. If you can't get the Prescott family into the capital immediately, then this marriage is off." No wonder the Prescott family had fallen. This couple was completely short-sighted. I was about to say something, but Victoria squeezed my hand. She said earnestly, "Mom, Dad, our family can't just merge into the capital's social circles. Even if we forced our way in with the Smith family's help, we'd be looked down upon, treated with contempt. and even used as a weakness to attack Sincere's family. What we need to do now is focus on developing our business in Suzhou. In 10 years, we'll be ready to move to the capital. Are you lecturing me? I'm your father, Arthur Prescott roared. Victoria got angry too. Dad, if it weren't for your stubbornness back then, the family wouldn't have been swindled. We wouldn't be in this mess, and Grandpa wouldn't have died. Why haven't you learned your lesson? Then she pulled me up and started walking out. Let's go, she said. They're being irrational. There's no talking to them. This was the Victoria I knew, decisive and always right. On the way to the hotel, I asked her about the time her family was swindled, and she briefly explained. Apparently, some hanger-on who knew a few people in the capital circles tricked her father into a bad investment, promising it was his ticket into the capital. The whole family was against it, but her father insisted, and they nearly lost everything. Ever since then, her father had become obsessed, constantly dreaming of breaking into the capital's elite circles. 8. Breaking into the capital's inner circle was an obsession for many regional families, but in reality, almost none who tried ever truly succeeded in establishing a foothold, because every circle is exclusive, especially the one in the capital, which holds the most prestigious resources and doesn't welcome outsiders. But almost every year, someone from the capital circle would use the promise of entry as bait to reel in a big fish, just like Julian Vance, whose catch was the Grimes family. On the surface, Ethan Grimes was the richest man in Suzhou, but it was just an empty shell. Most of the money the Grimes family earned went straight to Julian as tribute. I'd done similar things myself. I told Victoria all of this on the way to the hotel. She listened intently but remained silent. At the hotel, she lay in my arms and said, "Sincere, seeing you like this, it's like I never knew you at all. Before, you were like this big kid who would never grow up, but now you seem so worldly wise. Which one is the real you?" "They're both me," I said. "When I'm with you, I'm my truest self. As for being worldly wise, that's just the rules of the game I grew up with. If you're interested, after we get married, we can move back to the family estate. You'll understand everything naturally then." Victoria nodded, then shook her head. "I'm not interested at all. I worked so hard because the Prescott family had no one else to carry the burden. Now that I have you to rely on, why should I have to struggle anymore?" She was right. With me around, she wouldn't have to struggle. After dark, Julian Vance sent someone to pick us up. We drove to the outskirts of the city to a dog kennel owned by Ethan Grimes. The so-called kennel was a euphemism for a dogfighting ring. There was a reason we came here. Ethan, along with Arthur and Eleanor Prescott, had lost their minds. They had actually tried to kidnap me to extort benefits from the Smith family. However, the moment Ethan sent his men after me, they were intercepted by Julian's people, and all three were brought here. I sat on the viewing platform, looking down at the fighting pit. Ethan Grimes was thrown inside, covered in blood. Across from him was a Tosa Inu on a leash. Beside me were Victoria's trembling parents, Arthur and Eleanor. I truly hadn't expected them to be stupid enough to try and kidnap me. Victoria was shaking with anger. "What were you thinking?" she gritted out. "Even if you had kidnapped Sincere and gotten into the capital, did you think his family wouldn't come after you later?" "What's there to be afraid of?" Arthur retorted. "By then, what's done is done. The Prescotts would be in the capital circle, and you'd be a Smith daughter-in-law. Would they really make things difficult for us?" Victoria was too furious to speak. I patted her hand to soothe her, then turned to her father. "You probably don't know how the top circles operate. If you had truly threatened my life, my parents would no longer care who I love. They would bypass me completely and make the Prescott family disappear. And that includes Victoria." It sounded cruel, but it was the truth. My parents wouldn't even let Victoria live, because they would worry about her seeking revenge. She would be a loose end. "Mr. Smith, I was wrong. Give me a chance," Ethan screamed, but the Tosa Inu's leash was cut, and his voice was abruptly silenced. I didn't let Victoria watch the bloody scene that followed. I stood up and led her away. Arthur and Eleanor tried to leave too, but I stopped them. I looked at them. You two are going to watch. Then you're going to write me a 10,000-word reflection on what you've seen. If it's not insightful enough, you'll keep watching. After all, there are still plenty of other Grimes family members. I had to teach them how to be my in-laws. 6 months later, Victoria and I graduated. We returned to the capital together and had the wedding of the century.